Welcome back to the Elevate Everyday podcast. And we have a guest that's been on the Elevate Everyday podcast about a year ago now.
Mhm.
And really cool guest. I'm excited to have her back. She wrote a book, which is awesome. She's been working on it basically since we met last time. And it's called Burn Without Burning Out. Seven micro mindfulness habits for clear thinking, decisive action, and recovery from burnout. Okay. And I'm gonna let her give a little bit about her background if you guys didn't catch the first episode, because I think it's super interesting. So Denise, can you tell everyone just a little bit about kind of like where you come from and what prompted you to have this expertise in mindfulness and things like that?
Great. Thanks, Kate, and welcome everyone to this podcast. I'm really excited to be here. And like I shared on the last podcast, I'm actually a former nun. I was a nun for 8 years, and I pivoted my career at midlife with zero business experience to actually an award-winning career in program management. At the time of the writing of my book, I worked for Microsoft. And the first line of my book, it states, I share my career story. And the first line of the book says, I'm a former nun working at Microsoft. And then I go on to tell my story. So I gained some very successful career. I've been in a career, I'm going on 15 years at Microsoft, have had a great career. I want to keep going as long as I can. And I reflected during post-COVID time about my career at this point and what have I learned to be successful. And it went back to I reflected on my time as a nun. I spent 8 years as a nun, and those skills of dealing with people, taking time to reflect, and I kind of went back and reflected and kind of put together 7 micro mindfulness habits that I did at the time I was a nun, and I kept on doing them all throughout my career. And I decided to put that in a book. So that's where the result of the book came from. And my focus is really thinking about people today in everyday life. I call our world right now that we live in a ball pit within a bouncy house. And there's so many things coming at us in life at the speed of AI, at the speed of our world. And how do you focus on the one ball you need to do right now? Whether that's fitness, whether that's working out, or whether that's being present with your loved one or focused on what you need to do at work. And so
Yeah.
that's kind of the premise of the book.
That's awesome. Yeah, I wanted everyone to know your background of I don't know why I find it so fascinating. I feel like it's almost backwards of what a lot of people might do, like, being a nun and then going into a tech career. It just I think it's so interesting. But
Yeah.
it's really cool that you have that background um and yeah, I completely agree that I think we're struggling as humankind right now to be present. I think with everything that we're distracted with, it's like no one's ever right there, right?
Mhm.
So I think this is super important, and it's something that since our conversation last year, I still journal every day, right? I went through like my own little transformation last year. I met with you and a couple other people that, talk about mindfulness and journaling and I'm such a believer in how powerful it is. Um, so yeah, that's awesome. So what is the meaning behind your book? Like let me ask it this way. What are people going to get from reading this book?
Sure. So, first of all, I want to jump in though. This book also contains journal prompts
Nice.
at the end of every book. So, journaling, Kate, what you just said, journaling technique is like this incredible technique. I started journaling when I was in high school, and I've kept that practice up since now. And it's something that people think, oh, I have to journal like these long pages in a notebook. No, it can be as simple as a sentence, bullet points, phrases. I also was on a retreat with one of the nuns where she loved to draw. And so she would sketch something and watercolor and chalk or multicolored art of picture of something every day. And that was her journal expression.
Hmm,
You could also do that by photographs. I'm a photographer, so I have the digital app Day One Journal on my phone, and I do one photograph a day.
that's cool.
So that sense of importance of writing down, speaking it, drawing it, sketching it is a way to journal and to be involved in your reflective life. your insights come over a period of time. So in the book, after every chapter, I have a section of journal prompts and talk
Nice.
about one sentence journaling as one way to journal in the book.
Awesome.
So what do you discover? It's like the purpose really is we live an ordinary life, and there's so much packed in our calendar. And the purpose of micro mindfulness, you could sit and meditate for hours, and that's a great way to practice mindfulness. But I was asking myself, do I have several hours a day to meditate? No, it's like my life is going full speed, and especially in the tech. But we do have these moments. Ariana Huffington called them micro steps, 60-second micro steps. Uh, I call them these snackable, I call them chunks of uh, presence and focus that you can do, such as just intentionally pausing and taking a few deep breaths. Or I think of it as like in fitness, it's like your sustainable protein chunks and drinks along
Mm.
the way that keeps you focused, energized, and being present. And you're right, we can't do that 24/7. But the sense is that in the moments, in those micro moments that we connect the dots during our day, we can reflect at the end of our day and say, oh yeah, that was a moment of meaning in my life. That was a
Yeah.
moment of purpose. I was really there with
Yeah.
someone and listening to them in their time of need.
That's awesome.
So
Yeah, I really like actually what you said about the protein chunks because, you know, there's this book called Willpower, and he talks about like that protein can make your blood sugar, like if you have those chunks throughout the day, right, and you regularly eat good amount of protein, it helps with your willpower because your blood sugar is actually like
yeah.
regulated throughout the day. So it's almost, I like to think about that like with these little mindfulness habits. It's like, okay, you can have these little moments within the day that help your mindset and just like I think it would help your willpower, honestly, kind of same
Mhm.
thing, just having these little moments that are you and your time, and that kind of like help you get grounded to the day in a way. So I like that analogy. That's really cool. Um,
Yeah.
one thing I
Thanks,
did,
Kate. If
yeah,
I could add, because
yeah,
I study nutrition, my undergraduate degree is in nutrition,
nice,
and that sense of what you said about protein helping you sustain your blood sugar is that what I remember studying is that your blood sugar is like kind of like your heart rate. You've got a range of what's normal for blood sugar, and your protein and how your diet helps you maintain that kind of cadence throughout the day.
yeah,
Think of that as micro mindfulness, because sometimes our emotions can like react in our world, go way high or way low. And what we want to do is to stay present, to stay focused. And it's a range of up and down, but it's within this median range that keeps us sustained throughout the day.
yeah.
I go to bed at night, I'm exhausted, fall sound asleep, and I wake up energized and focused and ready for the day. So,
Nice. That's
yeah.
awesome. That's awesome. One thing that popped in my head that I wanted to get your opinion on, and then we'll kind of go into some of the details of the book. But one thing I started doing recently that I never did before, I don't know why I didn't, but I started going back. This is something that is definitely a micro mindfulness habit that you can do because it doesn't take much time. But going back and reading some of the things that I've been writing in my book on a daily basis, right? Like when you go back and read these things, it automatically puts you in a good mood. It's kind of like when you read certain things that you said you were grateful for even just a couple of days ago, it reminds you of that.
Mhm.
And it's been
Mhm.
something that's helped me get into a really good mindset whenever I want, is I can go back and read a few of these little journal prompts or journal entries that I've put in. So what's kind of your feedback or insight on that?
Oh, that's fantastic because I have an email course, a 2-week email course on one sentence journaling, and in those 2 weeks, I recommend doing once a week. Go
Nice.
back and reflect on what you read, and then jot down any new insights, and do that every week. And then when you go back and reflect, you go, look at this pattern, look at these,
Yeah.
and it's energizing,
Yeah.
it's inspiring, it's
Yeah.
helpful for you to say, well, maybe I need to change something.
Yeah.
This is really good. Maybe I need to keep doing that. So
Yeah.
that's and that is the whole sense of a mindful life is a reflective life.
Hmm. I
A
like that.
life of mindfulness and presence is a life of meaning. And in order to do that, we're fully in the moment. And then we pause and take time to reflect on at the end of the day, how did I live this day? How was
Right.
this day? And we
Yeah.
jot it down as one way. It's not the only way.
Yeah.
But then, like you said, you go back and read that and you go, oh, yeah, that was inspiring. That
Yeah.
was meaning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, cool. I want to dive into some of these because we got seven micro mindfulness habits. So can we go through each of these and just get like
Sure.
one little practical takeaway from each of these seven?
Sure. And I
Awesome.
just want to let everyone know you don't have to do them all. My philosophy is take what you like and leave the rest. That's the philosophy of Alcoholics Anonymous. It's like I studied a course in my theology on the spirituality of AA.
Mm,
And that was one of the sense of that it's about your energy flowing in the same direction, and you take what you can help you and let go of everything. So mindfulness is about how do you be present without judgment and be focused. So on these micro mindfulness habits, there's seven of them, but if you resonate with one of them, just stay with one of them, like, and you don't have to do them in order, but I'll walk through that if you think about your day, walking through these habits.
nice.
So the first one is like in the morning or getting up, it's like to focus on the essential. That's the habit. Focus on the essential. What is the most important thing for you? What is your purpose, your true north, your belief, your direction in life? And focus on that. Like it can be in the morning to say today, like my true north is love and service. And so today, so when I get up in the morning, I say, how can I love today? And making sure that that's my essential core value. It could be something else. It could be, the sense of bringing joy or positivity to the world, or saying, I'm going to take care, be the best person I can be in my job.
Okay.
What is essential to you? And so that doesn't waver when you're at work or when you're in relationships. That's a core value. And
Okay.
so that's one of the first habit.
Yeah. And is it, do you write one sentence having to
You
do with that
Yeah,
for your intention?
it's very much connected to one of the third habit, which is setting your intention. What is my intention today? But if it's just this practice of being, you can write it down, like write it on a sticky note. You could have it on a bracelet, or to say this, or something, or on a ring or something, or a necklace, to say we're sensual beings with our senses: sight, smell, taste, touch, sound, hearing. um, the sense of that, what's that focus when I wake up in the morning? What is that essential, and how does that essential, how is my true north lived out in this day?
Okay.
You just say, and it's like, yes, this big thing, I want to love and serve everyone.
Yep.
But then it hits the ground in having this meeting with somebody who I may not connect with, that may be challenging, or the work may be really hard,
Yeah.
or I encounter someone who is very different than I am, and maybe really angry because of my opinion. How do I stay focused? My essential is to be present and serve in love. And how do I do that? So
Nice.
um,
Awesome.
that's an example of that.
Cool.
The second habit, there's habits 2 and 3 are around in the morning. I usually do this too, or maybe habit 2 I just maybe reflect on during the week. But it's the habit number 2 is to make the most of your time. And it really centers around a growth mindset. It's about being open. We're open about all the possibilities of life. You can be anything you want to be. You can do it all. The reality is we have 24 hours in a day. We have a human life that will last a certain period of time on earth, and we have finite time. So we can't do everything. I love it that we have like an endless to-do list, or an endless dream list, or an endless focus list. But the reality is we only have so much time. And so what is most important? How are you going to make the most of your time right now in this moment?
Yeah.
And so one of those things is thinking about, how do I pay attention when I make the most of my time? How do I make decisions? One of the things that I struggle with is that most often my decisions are between 2 to 3 good things. I can't do them all. Which one do I choose right now? And can I be fully present in what I'm doing and not regretting that I didn't choose 3 and 2? I'm choosing number 1.
Hmm.
And so again, that can happen, like, maybe as you prepare for the week, or as you're thinking about your next day. Like at the end of the day, sometimes I think about this. How do I make the most of my time tomorrow? I've got 8 meetings. I've got, this and that. And how do I stay connected and focused and take the breaks I need to reset and recharge? Or for example, to say, I've reflected and say, you know what, I probably watched too much sports this week on TV, college football, as an example. And I wanted to limit my time, or maybe, record them, and then, shorten the time between the commercials, so I can save time doing that, because I really want to focus on being present with my family in
Yeah.
another way. As an
Yeah,
example, it's
that's
just this, it's a mindset. Most of these habits are mindset shifts.
okay. I really, that's a powerful one for me. I think that's something I'm always striving for. And I think a lot of people, like when I'm talking to people on social media and stuff like that, even people that are interested in training and things like that, like the biggest excuse I hear is I'm just too busy to work out,
Yeah,
right? And it's
yeah,
like
yeah.
it's like you got to make the most of your time, and you got to make sure that because we can all be busy. What is
Mhm.
busy? Like, I think people wear that as a badge of honor. Like, I'm busy. It's like they're proud that they're busy. But if you're just busy doing menial tasks, right? Like, then that's not fulfilling. Like, I think you should try to be. We're always going to be busy, but try to be busy on things that are moving you forward. Like, how are you making the most out of that time? What's serving you in that time that you're staying busy on the stuff that you're doing? So I think it's just so important to think about and like use your time wisely. And I don't know if you've done this, like the four quadrants where it's
Yeah.
or yeah, urgent and important, right? It's like
Mhm.
urgent, not important, or it's important but it's not urgent, or it's not important and it's
Yeah,
not urgent.
not urgent. Yeah,
Right. I think
yeah,
that's such a useful practice for people, and I think that goes along with this really well.
yeah.
So yeah, I appreciate that one. So that's number two. And you said two and three are kind of paired
Connected.
together. Okay.
For me, the third habit is called set your intention. And I do this every day. The sense of set my intention, and I call it making the most of your time and setting your attention is a way of clearing the chaos within you to really be present in the day. It's this setting my mindset. I want to clear my mental chaos to really focus. What is my intention today?
Yeah.
And then how will I live that in the day? So I set it and
Okay.
then go live it and move in that direction. So again, I think of that, I'm in the ball pit bouncy house. I know there's more, I've got more than 3 balls, but say like I have 3 balls juggling right now today. What's the most important one that I need to do if nothing else gets done today?
Yeah.
And at certain periods during the day, what do I need to focus on, or how do I want to be present?
Yeah.
So, for example, work today, my intention today has been to listen to my colleagues, because we're learning new processes with a new fiscal year coming up.
Mhm.
And I wanted to say, my intention was, how can I be present and listen before I respond, before I
Right.
speak?
Right.
Really listen to the other person. So that's
Yeah.
my intention for today. And, all juggling all the balls, wanting, so excited about our meeting today. How can I just be present and share this energy with you about how excited I am about the opportunity to talk about mindfulness? So,
Well, yeah, I can feel the energy. I appreciate it, Denise. But yeah,
yeah.
and that's something that I'm always reminding myself, right? Because and it's one of the things that I write down in the morning every day is just leading my clients and leading my teams. But a big part of that is just, if my mind's somewhere else, then I'm not being useful for them, right? Or if I'm scatterbrained, right? So you have to be present, you have to listen. That's the best gift you can give someone that's right in front of you, right? So I,
Yep.
I think that's a really good one. But yeah,
Yep.
so setting your intention and living it. So that's number three. What
Yep. And habit 4 is called practice the pause.
practice the
And
pause?
again, it's about, I call it mind the moment.
Okay.
That sense of throughout your day, you want to be fully present. But then there's a mindset shift that I call that you need to do, is be intentional about pausing. Like, and my one habit I do is I schedule it in my day. I schedule a meeting to myself for 10 minutes at certain times of the day. And I say, just to take a moment to either breathe and just reset, get up, I go outside, catch some fresh air, come back in. Or, I mean, it's like I've gotten up and said, okay, I'm going to do push ups and some squats to
Nice.
just get my legs blood flow moving, and
Mhm.
then reset and then go back at it. But that sense of it's intentionally slowing down enough to reset and refocus.
Yeah.
It's pausing to take your time, like to notice what's happening in front of you and say, I want to monotask, do one task at this hour. Like I also have sometimes I have like just a little alarm clock timer, like a little kitchen
Nice.
timer,
Oh
and
yeah.
say, I'm going to set 10 minutes. And then all I'm going to do is just journal some thoughts. Like I had a difficult meeting a couple weeks ago, and I thought, set 10 minutes on my timer. And I said, I just wanted to journal by hand, just get it out of me. And then just imagine letting it go before I went back to my next meeting.
Yeah.
Those
You,
kind of things. So it's a practicing the pause.
yeah. Yeah. I think did you learn that timer thing from Dickie Bush from Ship
Um,
30?
no, I
No?
actually learned it from I can't remember his name, but it's getting stuff done.
Okay.
The sense of that. So, and I've
Gotcha.
had this for years.
Nice. Yeah, I just
And
remember he that was something that he used to say, and that wait, so me and Denise, for the listeners, we did a writing course
mhm,
together, and that's how we met each other. So I was
yeah,
just curious. That's
yeah,
cool. So practicing the pause, I think that's super powerful, and it's something, it's pretty crazy. Since we've talked, I have like, and I'm sure you were a big influence on this. Like I have found ways with or times within my day that I do like slow down a little bit. And it is true. Like sometimes you need to slow down to speed up, right? I think
yeah,
before I would just be busy. Like there was not a second of time that I would just pause, right? Or like, take some time for myself and just kind of like recollect my thoughts and things like that. That's an easy way to just like you said, feel scatterbrained, just feel like there's so much throwing at you. And yeah, I think it's really important to take a little bit of time each day to do some breathing, just like maybe that's when you do your journaling, have a meal, take a walk, stuff like that. So really important
yeah.
practicing the pause.
One
So
other image, that's a great image. One other image I think about is the sense is slowing down doesn't mean you're stopping, you're just vegging out and doing nothing.
yeah,
I think of it as a slingshot. It's like you're pulling back for just a moment to pause. And in doing that, it's like you're resetting so that when you propel yourself forward, there's this energy behind that.
yeah,
There is this energy moving you forward.
I like that.
I also think of that if you like in the sense of weightlifting, in the sense of you approach like a bar or set, that you pause for a second to really focus on lifting that weight.
Yeah,
And when you do that pause, and because you don't rush through that, because you, first of all, you don't want to get injured, but you really want to do it, you want to do the proper form, you want to do the focus and do a clean lift, etc.
yeah.
And so that pause, carry that over in things that you do during the day.
That's awesome.
um,
And I could
yeah.
do so many parallels from lifting to mindfulness because like, it's all and just like your energy and things like that. Cause like in lifting, if we look at it from a more macro scale like that, it's like we take deloads sometimes, certain
Mhm.
weeks if like we've been lifting heavier and heavier and heavier, we've been overloading our lifts, right? We deload so that we kind of prime our central nervous system and our energy and it helps us come back and actually lift more. So I think like periodizing your lifting, I think sometimes look at other aspects of your life that you can do that, right? I kind of try to periodize certain things that I do in my life. Like, you know, if I know that I'm onboarding, because I have a couple employees now, right? I have an assistant coach now. It's like I know that I'm kind of periodizing when I'm onboarding him, getting him up and running. Like I may need to take away from some other things and like
Mhm.
go a little less hard with other aspects of my life. So I think this is something that a lot of people don't think about that they could, like kind of periodizing your life like you do a lifting program. I don't just what you were saying
Yeah.
made me think
Oh
of that.
yeah.
So I went on kind of a tangent there, but
No,
that's really
it
cool.
it's great. It's great, Kate. And it's that sense of it's being intentional about pausing.
Yeah,
And then sometimes you say, look, I'm just going to pause and not do anything and not even think about it, and it's like, I'm not going to plan it and be spontaneous. And that's really good too. But it's a sense of looking at my day, situations that happen. It's going to just take a deep breath, focus, and pausing, in the sense of I'm also directed a choir in my former life. And every choir practice, I would have the choir say, just take a nice deep breath and sigh out loud and just feel that air kind of, and again, it's a way of just to refocus and just be in the moment because people were transitioning and pivoting from work to require practice. And
Right.
so it was a great way for all of us to kind of reset and refocus,
Yeah. I love
practicing the pause.
I love the
Yeah.
slingshot analogy
Yeah.
you said too.
Yeah.
That's really cool. So yeah,
Yeah.
so practicing the pause, number 4. What's number 5?
So the other one is practice number 5 is to give grace
Give
to
grace.
everyone
Okay.
and to yourself. And I learned this parable when I was a nun, but it's very much related to the productivity image of eating the frog. It's like we eat a frog to be productive, the most hard part of the day. Well, on the flip side, I tell people the mindset is listen to frogs before you eat them. And so then the way you do that is you give grace to people. And that listening to frogs comes from the metaphor of a story of a mother abbess, the leader of a convent, would go off and walk in the yard out into the forest every day and sit by a pond. And then she'd get up and go back and do the leadership and business of the convent. She did that every day in her life. Well, at the end of her life, one of the nuns saw her do that. And at the end of her life, she said, Mother Abbess, did you go out to the pond to gain great insight and wisdom from God? And she said, No, I went to the pond every day to learn the song of the frogs. It's a great song, and it takes a long time to listen to them. And so that mindset was going to be present to someone and give them grace, like, which means allow them space to be who they are, even if they're not at their best, even if they really try to show up and they're not at their best, and they say, I'm not at my best self. It's honoring who they are, where they are right now. It's that mindfulness principle of be there without judgment
Yeah.
and allow people that when vulnerability happens, when they can say, I'm not at my best, and you give them grace, it's a sense of connection and
Yeah.
presence with someone
Yeah.
before you kind of move on to be productive or get through a meeting or something.
Yeah.
Again, it's a mindset shift of instead of judging people, well, like they didn't deliver their deliverable on time, dang it.
Right.
You know, they're taking a moment to pause that they said, sorry, I'm late because I went to take my child to the doctor
Yeah.
or and it's like, hey, it's okay.
Yeah.
What do you need? The space you need to be, how can I help?
Yeah,
That can.
that resonates with me a lot because, I talk with my clients every day. Sometimes people are struggling, not hitting the workouts, deviating from the meal plan. And if I were to just sit there and be like, hey, like you're not doing what we talked about, like you're failing, right? Like it would just have them shut down, like it wouldn't do any good, right? So it's kind of like giving them grace. And then I think about, even in a relationship, if you like your partner, um, say they did something that you weren't happy with, and you just start yelling at them, like they're just gonna shut down. So I'm kind of just thinking of like the inverse of that and how it doesn't
Mhm,
work, and then
mhm.
how giving grace is just super powerful to make them kind of feel connected, and realize that you do care, and kind of just be able to take the steps from there. So I like that one.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And it's also giving grace to yourself.
Hmm.
I'm a recovering perfectionist. So the sense of that I'm not at my best today, but
Right.
I'm making progress, or to
Right.
recognize the progress we make of I spent time with being still, being mindful, being present. I couldn't do it all the time, but today I really experienced this moment fully and felt very grateful for that. And
Yeah,
it's like give yourself grace that happened, you
for
know.
sure.
So those
For
are kind
sure.
of things too.
Awesome.
Um,
Awesome.
Last two I think are related to burning out.
Okay.
Burning out comes from like, we feel spent. I mean, if you've ever felt that sense of feeling so drained from something, no matter what you do,
Oh yeah.
but ways to combat that or ways to manage that and to be energized that, again, it's like I think of our senses is I call it habit number 6 is carry a symbol of meaning for you in some way, like a necklace or something on jewelry, or it could also just be a sticky note on your laptop or computer or right at your mirror of what you're focusing on. It's something that tangible that reminds you of your goodness, your purpose,
Yeah.
your what is essential for you. We are so connected with our senses that I think I don't know the exact, I can't remember the exact, but in the book I mentioned that why is it that swag and that people love to get some stuff? It's like it's a $2 billion industry for in 2022 for the United States. And what is it about tchotchkes and swag and, gift bags that we get in work, but even those tangible things. Tell one story in the book. At work, I go into the women's restroom and there's these sticky notes of inspiration, saying, you got this, breathe, be brave, you're stronger than you think. And I'm washing my hands looking at this and think, this is so cool. But
Yeah.
I felt inspired. I felt connected to people on my floor that I worked with, and this went on for months before HR said, there's too much, it's like you're taking up the mirror, space. But it was a great exercise of what is that symbol of meaning? It's a word, it's your purpose, it's what drives you.
Yeah.
Something that because we live and breathe and experience life through our senses.
Yeah.
And as much as AI is taking over our world, the reality is our superpower is we still communicate and live through our senses. And how do we experience a sunset that's meaningful, or what is it that's meaningful in our lives that we can touch, that we can taste, that we can smell, that we can see,
Mm-hmm.
and that we can feel within the gut and soul of our being? Yeah. So don't be afraid. It's like some people say, oh, that's so like high school or something. It's like, no, we're human.
Yeah.
It's it's like we allow yourself to be human
Yeah, and I
in
think
that
I
regard.
like that one because it's anyone can do that, right? Like
Yeah.
anyone can carry something around that reminds them of something that they want to be reminded of. And I'm hoping people that wear my
Yeah.
brand, right? Like the fitness champion
Right.
training, stuff like that. Like when I wear it, when I'm wearing shirt and a hat, it's all over the place and it's always just a constant reminder of my purpose, right? And
Mhm.
I'm hoping that because I give my merch out to my clients and stuff like that. I hope they wear it and it reminds them of what they're going for and their goals, fitness wise and
That's
more,
right.
right? So,
Yeah,
I
that's
like
that's
them.
right. And again, it's that sense of you carry a symbol of meaning. This is meaningful for me.
Mhm.
Your fitness, how you empower other people to be fit and live a life that's whole. It's a sense of wholeness of life and
Yeah,
fullness of life. And as we age and get older, it's like that we want to be fit as we get older, and that we carry that throughout our lives. And
yeah,
that's meaningful.
yeah.
And that's, like it's like, yeah, it's like wearing the symbol of meaning for you that keeps you grounded in your purpose and your goal.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. That's awesome.
Cool.
Sweet. So yeah, so that's
And
number six. And you said these are
and the last one, number 7, one way to combat burnout is exercising gratitude.
okay.
I call it exercise gratitude. And maybe Kate, I think you inspire me or something about, like with exercise and fitness, because that sense of it is this sense of giving thanks, showing appreciation,
Mm,
doing something for others, doing something for yourself that says, I am so grateful for this experience, this moment, and this time of affirmation that energizes me.
yeah.
And the inspiration behind that, I tell in the story in my book, is that my dad was a World War II veteran, and he served in the Navy as a gunner's mate on a destroyer, which is the small ships, and escorting the big carriers across the North Atlantic. And I told the story that he shared with me was his ship got caught on an ice floe in the Iceland in the North Atlantic. And so they were literally sitting ducks for the German submarines that they were patrolling. And he said he's on patrol and he has this photo. We have this photo of him on patrol as a sailor at 19 years old. And this ship is totally encased in ice. And he said, we almost starved. And he said that we got out of that and moved forward that. But he says, I look at that and he lived his life from that his work ethic and appreciating life,
Mm,
like what was a core value for us as children growing up in our family. And so that sense of the power of gratitude can drive you and motivate you and get you through some of the hardest times, that he was very grateful to survive that. And so
wow.
that stayed with me. And so that's the sense that how do you give it, show affirmation to yourself and to other people, appreciation. And one way to do that is by journaling at night. That's,
Yeah.
mindfulness psychology experts talk about write down 3 things you're grateful for at
Yeah.
this moment, at the end of the day. And again, some people, inner critics or other people saying, oh, this doesn't make any sense. Do that for a couple weeks. And then, like you said, look back and look at it.
Yeah.
And then you go, wait, there's this thread. I'm very grateful when this happens. Can I repeat this again?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. I've been writing 3 things every morning. It's so powerful
Mhm.
to write what you're grateful for. But I really like what you said. I've never really thought about it like that with everything that your father went through, right? And so now he is so grateful for everything because he went through such tough times. And I think back in like some of the toughest times of my life where I was just really struggling and like, I feel really blessed now where I'm at. It's like, but if I'm ever feeling burnt out or like feeling low on myself or feeling like, what's the point? Like, I do catch myself a lot of times being like, well, this is nothing compared to what I went through, at a certain point that I can think back to. And it's like, when you go through some of those really tough times, it's almost like you can look back at that later and realize that you gained so much strength during that. And you're so
Mhm.
grateful for where you're
Yeah.
at now. So I think that's really powerful. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So,
And like I said, those 7 habits, they can be done individually on their own, or sometimes just think about if you've not tried mindfulness before. What I don't say, don't drive in all of them. Pick one. If you're curious or something, pick one of them and say, for this week, I'm just going to focus on what is my most essential core value
yeah,
and pay attention to that. Or to say, I'm going to practice intentionally pausing when I get really stressed out at work, or my coworker drives me nuts when they do this.
yeah,
I'm going to take a pause and just breathe, and then go at it again.
yeah. I think
The sense of that.
yeah, the
Yeah.
pause thing, I think something that's really helped me, that could resonate with the listeners is, and it's something that, Andy Frisella says, you can turn things into triggers to have like a good habit out of that.
Hmm.
So like
Hmm.
I've now created, if I ever get super frustrated with something at work or if like if I just get really overwhelmed, like that's actually a trigger for me now to go walk around, right? It's like
Hmm.
when I feel that way, I'm like, okay, I got to go walk around, right? So you can turn some like negative emotions and negative things into triggers to do positive actions. And that can be super powerful. So I think that's good with the pause
Yeah.
one.
That's a great point, Kate. Just to say, like it says, like whenever I get I turn the notifications off on my phone, but it's like whenever I get a ping or something, it's like, okay, I'm just going to take a deep breath before I even look at it.
Yeah.
Or, I'm at the end of a meeting. I have a meeting to the next, and usually we have like 5 minutes. I definitely take 1 minute to say, I'm going to get up, walk around,
Yeah.
take a glass of water, take a drink of a glass of water or something. It's like like those trigger things that happen.
Yeah.
That maybe your alarm goes off in the morning. Say, well, instead of picking up my phone, I'm just going to sit up, take a deep breath, and say, what am I most grateful for today?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
one trigger. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's really good. Really
Well,
good.
cool. Well, guys, so Denise's book is up for pre-order now, right? So,
Yes. Yep.
yeah,
Burn
so
without burning. This is the author version. I had to check it to make sure it was right to
there you
print.
go. Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's up on Amazon. I've got a link. I'll put it in the description. And you can pre-order it for just $2.99 right now. And then it's fully available September 22nd. Is that correct?
Yes. Hmm.
Okay, awesome.
Yep.
So
And the price will go up a week after the publication of September 22nd.
okay, gotcha. So
Yeah.
so 2.99 right now, guys, and then after September 22nd, I know I'm gonna be getting it from Audible. I love listening to my books, and
Yes.
Denise actually did the whole recording, so it's her voice. You can hear her passion, her enthusiasm on Audible, if that's the way you like to consume books like me. But guys, other than that, I got a lot out of this. I always love having you on here, Denise, so I
Thank
appreciate
you.
you. But
Thank you for
guys,
that opportunity.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I know you guys got some value out of this. Put this stuff into practice right away, though, guys. That's what the Elevate Everyday podcast is all about.
Mhm.
I like to have guests on here, and also me and my co-host Herb now, who wasn't on this one, Denise. Maybe you can meet
Oh,
him next
wonderful.
time.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but we want you guys to get information that you can put into practice in your life immediately and make an impact right away. So that's what we want you to do. Other than that, guys, let us know if you got any questions in the comments. Make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video. In the meantime, elevate every damn day. Appreciate you. Thank you, Denise.
Thanks. Thanks a
Peace.
lot.
Elevate. Only obligation is to tell it straight.